Hey, what's up guys? It's Cypher, and today we have a different kind of video. Today, I want to talk to Fortnite, and I want to talk to you guys, the community, because there has been a ton of discussion, and I mean a lot of discussion about the state of the game, where Fortnite is heading. Some people are concerned, some people really like where we're going, and some people have some criticism. So over the course of Chapter 5, and especially this Chapter 2 remix season, I've really thought about where Fortnite's at, and I wrote down what I think are the top 5 most important things that Epic really needs to focus on moving forward to ensure success for this game, at least what I think. I haven't made a video talking about the state of the game in what feels like years, and there's a reason for that. I have been so locked in on creating content for you guys, on trying to push my channel to new heights, and I've genuinely been enjoying the game. Yes, there are critiques and there are feedback, and usually I leave them onto my stream or the Cypher Reacts channel, or I just tweet about them. But most of the videos on this channel, we have just been trying to focus on uploading absolute bangers and great content that keeps you guys coming back. With that being said, I do think it's a little cringe when people nitpick and complain every single minor detail about the game. I do think Fortnite has done a pretty decent job in recent seasons, giving us a good amount of content to work with and just keeping the game fresh, and also even listening to feedback, which you don't really see a lot of companies do these days. But this video is a critique video. We are going to dive into what I think Fortnite needs to improve in a constructive manner, and just have a honest conversation about the state of the game. So the first point we need to talk about is the storyline and live events that we're getting in Fortnite. Now, I'm going to be completely honest here. As a player, I care more about the gameplay than the story. I always thought it was very neat, though, that Fortnite had story and lore behind it. It did make the game feel a little bit more rich in content, but I think the gameplay aspect is a little bit more important, and I think the event aspect is even more important for more people who actually just casually play Fortnite, which is most people. So let's talk about events a little bit more, because we've had a couple really cool events in the last few months, but there's also been a ton of negativity around these events, and I think I know why. So the first thing is that anytime Fortnite does something, we're always comparing that current thing that they're doing to previous things that they've done. And unfortunately for Fortnite, they have done some very, very cool things. So when we just had our most recent music event, everyone was expecting something similar to Travis Scott or Ariana Grande, but with Snoop Dogg. And that's not what happened. We actually got a completely different, completely unique experience that probably took a lot of time and effort to pull off, completely transforming Times Square and giving millions of players, over 10 million players, a live concert experience. It was a unique experience that no other game has done, but everyone went into that event thinking we were getting Travis Scott 2.0, and that's not what we got. Or if we just go back to the Doom event, which was, by the way, a mini live event where we got to all shoot down Doom as a community with a health bar that was synced across millions of players, which that also took a lot of skill and timing to pull off. But everyone also thought that was going to be like Monster versus Mech or previous live events. But that was just a mini event. And I think it's important to make that distinction, because Fortnite has recently started doing these little mini events leading up to the end of seasons and leading to the true big finale events, which are chapter finales, which happens once a year. Unfortunately, though, as soon as Fortnite puts a countdown in game, everyone starts thinking about all the crazy events we've had in the past, like Monster versus Mech, like Galactus, like the island flipping in Chapter 2. So our expectations as a community are way too high for these mini events, when in reality, if you just think of them as mini events, they're actually pretty damn cool. But what does Epic need to do better? The first thing is communication, okay? If Fortnite told us straight up that the Ice Spice and Snoop Dogg concert was just going to be a live music experience, and they weren't very vague about it, people wouldn't think that we were about to get a Travis Scott type of concert. We would have went in with different expectations, and I think a lot more people would have been satisfied with what we got and less angry. And for the mini events, they need a way to kind of communicate to us that it is a mini event, and not to get our hopes up like the island's going to explode or flip. At this point, they've done a few mini events, so I do think the community is kind of catching on. You know, there's a mini event in the middle of the season, and then maybe a larger event towards the end of the season or the end of the chapter. So we're slowly getting there in terms of adjusting the expectations. But let's talk about the actual big events that are happening at the end of every chapter. So the last major story event that we had was literally in chapter 3, and it was the collision event. Since then, we've had the fracture event, which brought us into chapter 4, and I don't need to say much about that. Everyone hated that. And I'm going to be completely honest about the chapter 4 to chapter 5 event, the Eminem concert. People expected a full-on Eminem concert similar to Travis Scott. He only actually played 2 or 3 songs, and then the rest of it was us flying through Fortnite Lego, rocket racing, and the music festival stuff, which most people did not care about, and it did feel like somewhat of an add to these new modes. And I'm not saying Epic can't show off new modes and new features in the events, but they need to bring back that magic that the older events had, where you felt like you had to be there and it wasn't just a walking advertisement. And honestly, I'm hoping we get something like that going into the event with chapter 6. We'll see if Epic listened to the feedback from the previous couple of events. And now it's time for point number 2, Fortnite's gameplay. What do we like? What do we don't like? This is the most important point because at the end of the day, the gameplay defines if we're enjoying ourselves. So far, Fortnite has been giving us a decent amount of new content. They're keeping the game fresh just like they did back in chapter 1. Every other week, there is a gameplay update. There's weapon changes, there's vaults, there's unvaults. It's their biggest strength, and it has been for the longest time, is how fast they change things and how fast they adapt. Speaking of adapting, you got to give them credit for Fortnite Reload. They released Season 3 Wrecked, and a lot of people did not like that season. And even if you did like it, the player count showed it as one of the lowest played seasons in the last 4 seasons. Pretty much saving the day and giving millions and millions of players an alternative mode to play Fortnite. And while initially I thought maybe Reload was only going to be around for a while, it's still one of the most played modes to this day. So when it comes to giving us content consistently and adjusting based on feedback, they're doing a decent job. But what do they need to improve? One thing is, I'm hoping that in chapter 6, we go back to hit scan weapons. And I'm going to just explain what that means really quickly for some of you who don't know. Hit scan is when you shoot your gun and the bullet instantly goes where you shot. And bullet travel weapons, you shoot your gun, the bullet has to travel to the target. So that means you have to adjust for bullet drop and them moving across your screen. This was introduced in chapter 5 to SMGs and assault rifles, whereas they previously were hit scan. And people did end up getting used to them, but with the success of Reload and OG Fortnite, it's clear that more players actually prefer hit scan rather than bullet travel, even though bullet travel requires more skill. The second thing is, Fortnite does not give a lot of opportunities for their new features to actually shine. In chapter 4, we got augments, and initially they had a pretty hot start. The augments were very powerful, they were very fun and game-changing. But in chapter 4, season 2 and season 3, the augments started getting kind of more irrelevant and weaker, and it got to a point where it just became a chore to use the augments, and they vaulted augments and never brought them back. And the same thing might happen with weapon attachments, because when weapon attachments first got added in chapter 5, it was exciting and new, but the issue was that Epic kept them gate-kept behind the weapon benches that were only available in the vaults back in chapter 5 season 1, and then after that they were only available in the bunkers and the spawn island. And the reality is the weapon attachments weren't that game-changing. Besides putting a scope that you really liked, we didn't have fire rounds or a crazy weapon attachment that changed how the gun really worked. It was all very minor stuff like 5 extra bullets, a faster reload, faster ADS. And as a result, people just ignored them, and Fortnite probably sees those stats, and they're probably going to do away with weapon attachments in chapter 6. Now, if they do or they don't, that's fine. My main point of feedback here is that when they add something new, when they add a new feature to the game, they should be less scared to change it up and spice it up to see what players like and don't like about it. Because it felt like with augments and weapon attachments, they just got thrown in without any real major changes and then eventually got vaulted. My next point about gameplay is not making the same mistakes multiple times in a row. When Fortnite OG came out last year, there was a shield issue where there weren't enough shields, and they eventually had to buff the amount of shields that came out of chests. Fast forward to Chapter 2 Remix, we still have the same issue. And even after they buffed the shield pot and they buffed the amount of shields and they brought splashes into the loot pool, there's still not enough shields. So Fortnite players really need two things to enjoy themselves. Shields, that's a given. And number two, mobility, especially for zero builds. So hopefully Fortnite has learned from their previous mistakes and, also adjusted to the fact that half of the players nowadays also play zero build and not just build mode. And they include more mobility moving forward in Chapter 6. And of course, more shields, because we need shields, especially in the OG seasons when we only had minis and bigs. Just make them more abundant, please. And overall, I do think the gameplay and content is in a better spot than it was back in Chapter 3, and the player count does reflect that. But now it's time to move into our third point, hackers. So Epic has one of the best anti-cheats in the world. And that's not me just saying that, that is a fact. People have compared all the top games, and Epic does rank #1 in anti-cheat. And fortunately for most of you guys who play, you probably haven't ran into a hacker. And no, just because the player is really good and hit all their shots doesn't mean they're a hacker. Most hackers play in the Fortnite tournaments. And because Epic has really good anti-cheat, if you download any software or any hacks, you're most likely going to get banned. But hackers have evolved. They have found out ways to use secondary PCs and hardware devices to start hacking. And it's taking not just Epic, but a lot of companies time to catch up to the new ways people are cheating. And as a result, zero build tournaments have become mostly unplayable and filled with hackers. But why? Why are people hacking in Fortnite, and why are they mainly hacking in the tournaments? Well, people hack because they're immature, they think it's fun, whatever their reason is. The main thing that drives people to hack in Fortnite tournaments is the prize pool. A lot of these hackers genuinely do believe that if they hack in a tournament and get away with it, or even if they get caught after the fact, Fortnite is still going to pay them out their money. Now, the thing about these hackers is they actually see this as a way to make money. They spend some money on the hacking equipment and software, and they hope that if they hack in a tournament that has a prize pool and they do well, they're actually going to get paid out by Epic and they'll get their money back. Now, I am not an expert in this field at all, and I don't know how many of these hackers are actually getting paid. But I've seen enough people brag about how much money they've made hacking in Fortnite tournaments, some of them even going unnoticed for multiple seasons and multiple cash cups, to the point where a lot of people do think that they can hack, get away with it, and get paid. And even if they get banned, they already got paid out. And we're talking about people who are obviously hacking, people who are dropping 30 bombs or 40 bombs on relatively newer accounts. I know Fortnite has added a higher level requirement before you can play in tournaments, but I do think they should look into more requirements and more features to really prevent anybody from feeling incentivized to cheat, and to remove the cash incentive for cheaters entirely. But another piece of feedback is just having a few extra people in between tournaments look at the players that have qualified, look at how many kills they're getting. If Typical Gamer can make an entire YouTube series about hacker hunting and finding 20 plus hackers in a single zero build tournament, Epic should definitely have a few more people just reviewing some of the footage, especially in between open rounds to the final rounds, and checking out any suspicious players that are obviously hacking and removing them before the finals begin. At the end of the day, I am not the most knowledgeable about the intricacies of anti-cheat and cheating software, and I'm sure there's some very intelligent people at Epic that are working hard to try to eliminate all cheaters, but I had to bring up this issue because zero build tournaments are in complete shambles, and every other day there is dozens of cheaters playing in these tournaments. And now I got to talk about point number 4, AI. And I'm not talking about AI art. I'm talking about artificial intelligence in Fortnite. The bots that are running around all over your pub games. And if you can't recognize that they're bots, then you're probably a bot yourself. But that's besides the point. Fortnite introduced bots in Chapter 2 to really separate the player base, especially newer players who are just getting into the game, so that they can have an easier experience getting into Fortnite and maybe even getting a victory royale, which will really get them hooked to the game as they improve and get better. The issue, though, is as a result of these AI bots, even in my lobbies, which is supposed to be like the higher ranked lobbies, if I'm playing a public match, there are sometimes 50, even up to 80 AI in a game where there's only 20 to 30 real players. It has actually become a calm to say they are real when you run into a squad and realize that they are not AI, but an actual, team of people playing the game. Now, it is a little crazy that AI even works in a multiplayer game like Fortnite, but I am almost certain that the data Fortnite has shows that most players that are not really good at the game, or they're casual, or they only play once a week, don't even realize they are fighting AI and would actually quit the game if every player they ran into was real because they're just that bad. And for the sake of the health and future of the game, it makes sense that some of these beginner players or very, very casual players are a little bit more protected. Now, some people think that AI should be removed completely, and I am not in that boat. I actually do think that AI in Fortnite are a necessary evil for the future and health of the game. I understand newer players need to go against them. But all I'm asking is that Epic really take a look at the amount of AI, especially in higher tier lobbies. It's gotten to the point where nowadays when I'm playing with Ninja or Courage or Nick A30, we pretty much just play ranked mode because we know that we're going to go against real players. And that is a decent solution, although as a result, it has made the ranked experience feel a little more casual, and maybe that's okay. But with next month, the addition of a brand new Fortnite OG and the player base getting even more split, I think it's worth just taking a look at the numbers and seeing if a reduction in the amount of AI, especially in mid to higher tier lobbies, is necessary for, a genuine gaming experience. And now it's time for my fifth and final point. And this is one I'm very passionate about and think about maybe a little too much. So I'm going to try to be a little bit tame here and not go too hard. The Fortnite Metaverse. Fortnite is investing a ton of money. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars into the Fortnite ecosystem, which consists of the Fortnite maps and Battle Royale and Fortnite UEFN creative experiences. It has been a little over a year and a half since UEFN came out. There's been some very interesting maps and very unique things created in the space. And even though UEFN has developed a little bit slower than expected, with a lot of the features being delayed, I see a vision in where people are going to make some very, very cool experiences that are going to actually attract people outside of Fortnite into the Fortnite ecosystem. But that has not happened yet. Most of this money is going straight back into the current ecosystem that existed before UEFN. And there's a good chunk of people that are abusing this system and doing very shady tactics to steal this money. Now, this is something that's easy to miss because most people are genuine map creators, and while no one has made the craziest new experience to bring people into the game yet, eventually some people will with the right tools and time. But I want to focus in on the people that are making scam maps to steal players' time and Fortnite's money. It's a lot more apparent at the beginning of any new season, where a lot of players are trying to get a lot of XP to level up their battle pass. You'll see YouTube videos, you'll see TikToks and live streams of people promising millions of XP on Fortnite maps using weird maneuvers and tactics where you have to play a map for a certain amount of time and put in a secret code and all this other stuff. And a lot of these maps are actually manipulating the XP system to give only a few amount of players a lot of XP, but most people who play that map will not get a lot of XP, but they've already been tricked to spend time on that map, and as a result, that map gets boosted in the Fortnite algorithm. And then those people end up getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars directly from Epic Games for these false promises. And some people don't just stop at XP. Some people say that their maps grant you V-Bucks or rare skins like Renegade Raider. And since there's a lot of kids that play Fortnite, they watch this content, they go to these maps, they waste their time, they get scammed, and these maps end up getting boosted and promoted to the top of discovery. I'm just gonna give you one quick example. I could give you 100+ examples, and believe me, I have reported hundreds of these maps in the past, but it seems like it's very hard for Epic to actually do anything about it, because they can't prove that the TikTok or YouTube video claiming that this map gives, you know, free skins is actually linked to the creator of the map. I was scrolling through TikTok and I ran into this stream where this person was saying that you would get 100 million V-Bucks. Yes, 100 million V-Bucks for playing this map, Santa versus Grinch. As a result of that TikTok, a lot of kids got tricked and played this map, and the algorithm pushed this map to over 20,000 players. This map was actually featured in the home bar of Fortnite, the very top row, and it was only there because a bunch of kids thought they were going to get 100 million V-Bucks. And this map is still up to this day and has generated over 200,000, yes, 200,000 US dollars from this alleged scam. I mean, maybe everybody who played this map did get 100 million V-Bucks. I'm not sure. Maybe a random person live streamed telling everybody that they would get 100 million V-Bucks for playing this map, and it wasn't actually the map creator themselves. Just someone who's out to get them. Now, what can Epic actually do about this? Because this is just one example of hundreds of examples. The main thing is XP in Fortnite. It's obviously very important to a lot of players, and I think it's in Epic's best interest to just make all the maps in Fortnite give the same amount of XP and give a decent amount of XP. The only requirement is that the player isn't AFK and they're actually engaging in the content that the map has to offer. And if they are engaging, because Fortnite can track that, then the XP should be the same. That way, people who are making maps are focused on making fun experiences and engaging experiences instead of focusing on how much XP per hour their map generates. This would result in better maps. This would eliminate people scamming players about XP because eventually it would catch on that all the maps give the same amount of decent XP. And I think that's a solid solution. I mean, we really should just be focusing on making decent maps and bringing new people into Fortnite. And honestly, that's not going to happen if the incentive to do stuff like this is so high and so rewarding. I can also go on and on about Fortnite Creative and the whole UEFN landscape, but I could make that an entire 1-hour video. For now, I'm just going to leave it at that and hope to shine some light on some of the issues that Fortnite has been experiencing, but in a constructive manner, because at the end of the day, guys, I'm still very much enjoying this game. I actually can't believe it. I've been playing this game for over 7 years. I've been creating content consistently for that long as well. If I actually wasn't enjoying the game, I would have quit and moved on, or I would just be miserable playing this game and people could tell on my stream. But that's not the case. I have a great time. I have some good friends that I play the game with, and I do look forward to the new updates and content that Fortnite is putting out. No game is perfect, and I'm glad I could highlight 5 really important things that I care about. And if you guys agree with me or you guys have any feedback about what I said, please leave them in the comments down below. I'm looking forward to the live event at the end of the season and the start of Chapter 6, and of course, the return of Fortnite OG. We are in store for a huge December, and I really believe in the future of this game. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed.